everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chapter 1 Read Aloud. Today, I have a very special guest who is going to be reading Chapter 1 of her own book. That's right. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Miss Alex Flinn. She is the author of the book Girls of July, along with a host of other books, but we are reading Chapter 1 of Girls of July today. Now, Alex Flinn, whether she knows it or not, is one of my favorite authors because she wrote one of my favorite books, which is Beastly, which is kind of like a modern take on Beauty and the Beast. So if you love modern retellings, which I love when it comes to Beauty and the Beast, you will definitely love the book Beastly. Check that out. She also has a lot of other great fairy tale favorites in there as well. So I will let Alex go ahead and introduce a little bit more about herself, tell you a little bit about the book, and maybe some upcoming projects you'd be interested in.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to be here to read Girls of July, and this was my book that came out last summer for last July. And I wrote it because for the longest time since I was 7 years old, my family has vacationed in the Adirondacks at a place that's just kind of magical. And I thought it would be so much fun to introduce teen readers to it. It's just like a world without Wi-Fi and, you know, a lot of modern conveniences, but like just really interesting, quirky people and beautiful nature. And so I thought it'd be fun to take four girls who were used to having more stuff to this really kind of, you know, backwoods place. I wanted to tell you a little bit about, I have a book coming up July 7th. It's called Love Jacarenda, and it is kind of a retelling, but not of a fairy tale. It's a reboot of a book called Daddy Longlegs, which I read when I was a teenager, and my mother read when she was a teenager. And the original book is about an orphan who gets sent to college. I was always in performing arts. As a teenager, I majored in music in college, so I made it about a high school girl who gets sent to a boarding school for performing arts by also a mysterious benefactor. And she pours her heart out to this benefactor, and, you know, she doesn't know his name, but she just writes. She doesn't have a family herself, so she just writes to this benefactor to tell him all the crazy things that are happening, including meeting the most spectacular guy and, you know, getting parts and plays and stuff like that. And so it's a real fun, light romance for summer, and I hope you'll check it out when it comes out.
Sounds great. Actually, sounds really interesting.
Thank you. But now I'm going to read to you from Girls of July, and it starts with an ad on the internet. To those who appreciate starlight and fresh air, 3 rooms for rent in a secluded cabin in the Adirondacks, July 1st to 31st. Teen girl and grandmother seeking teen female housemates. Private lake with canoes and kayaks available. Come see our deer, pick wildflowers and blackberries, dip a toe in our icy lake, hike our mountains, stargaze in a sky devoid of city light bleed. Responsible renters only, no partiers. Also, no cell phone reception. Get away from it all. Interview required. Contact Alicia Webster. Britta's day couldn't have been worse, and it was only half over, if you even count lunch as half, when it began at 10:40. The meal you ate at 10:40 was called brunch. It had started to rain, a pouring down Miami rain that began right at 6:20 when Britta had to leave for the bus. Her mother had taken away her car. Then, after first period, she got back her Algebra 2 test with a big red F scrawled across the top. And third period, she'd argued with Ms. Barfield, her drama teacher, about the pukey yellow costume she had to wear for her second act duet. It made her look like a summer squash. Unfortunately, she'd been impulsive enough to say just that. Now her favorite teacher thought she was a brat. Why couldn't she control herself? Enough with people. At lunchtime, instead of meeting her friends, Brenda ducked into the library. She settled onto a beige plastic couch under a Read poster of some basketball player reading Harry Potter and took out her iPad. She scrolled, clicking on posts about 9 actors you didn't know almost played Batman, and a gif of 2 cats fighting with lightsabers. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Then she saw the ad. It had been shared by a friend of a mutual's cousin, or something, as such things were. or such things would be if people usually posted ads for summer vacation properties on social media instead of Airbnb, which of course they didn't. Starlight and fresh air. The accompanying picture showed a beautiful lake mirroring pine trees. Brenda clicked on it. Then one of a house with a porch going all around. It was like a sign, like someone was saying, Britta, relax. Get away from mom and her skeezy boyfriend and relax. She wondered what city light-bleed was. Brenda noticed Meredith Daly sitting under a poster of Taylor Swift reading The Giver. Meredith wore khaki shorts that were longer than any teenager should wear and a white polo that said German Honor Society, because of course she did. She crouched over a stack of homemade flashcards, her reddish hair covering her eyes. She sort of rocked back and forth, flipping over first one, then another pink card. Wagner Act. Meredith turned the card over and pumped her fist in victory. Brenda bet Meredith knew what light-bleed was. She switched sofas and tapped her shoulder. Meredith started. What? Huh? She pulled away her noise-canceling headphones. Do you know what light-bleed is? Britta asked. Meredith looked at Britta like she was on bath salts. What? City light-bleed, devoid of city light-bleed. What does that mean? Meredith shook her head. No idea. She replaced the headphones. Britta Googled city light-bleed, which she should have done in the first place. It had to do with astronomy. With less city light-bleed, you could see way more stars. Once, Britta's family had gone camping, and she remembered the stars, millions of them, spread like a lace overlay on a black velvet dress. Dad had held her hand and shown her the Big Dipper and her own constellation, Libra. That was when Dad had been around. Now, Dad was gone, and there was her mother's new boyfriend, Rick, who was always joking about her tight shorts or how many boys she must be dating, or asking if she wanted a ride in his Lamborghini. And who was the reason she didn't have a car anymore? She needed to get away to someplace Rick-free for the summer. In the past, her mother would never have let her. Britta hadn't been allowed to sleep over a friend's house until 9th grade, and even then, her mother had called 5 times. But now that Rick was in the picture, it might be different. Her friend Tegan had suggested they be CITs together at a Girl Scout camp in North Florida. Yeah, no. Being in a cabin with 15 8-year-olds was not Britta's idea of a summer vacation. And what if she misplaced one or something? It could happen. Britta looked back at the photo of the lake. This was what she wanted, to hike and kayak and stargaze, not use chopsticks to check little kids' scalps for lice. Beside her, Meredith said, Works Progress Administration. Britta looked Meredith over, since Meredith was plainly oblivious. Meredith would be pretty if she'd lighten up. They had no classes together, Meredith being a genius who only taught AP think tank classes, but they'd sort of been friendly in grade school when Meredith, skinny and sad-looking, had transferred in second semester of 4th grade. Every day at lunch, she sat alone reading. So weird. But Britta felt sorry for her, sorry enough that once she'd asked her about her book. Meredith's eyes had lit up. It's called Ink Death, she'd said. It was the last book in the Inkheart trilogy. Have you read them? Britta had shaken her head no, sorry she'd said anything. Now Meredith would think she was dumb. But Meredith had said, well, you should, they changed my life. This was the sort of funny thing that Meredith would say. But the next time the class went to the library, Britta had checked out the first book, which had a picture of a lizard on the cover. Meredith had smiled when she saw her doing so. And while Britta wouldn't say the book was life-changing, it was a pretty good story, and Britta had actually finished it, instead of losing it under the debris on her nightstand and returning it unread, her usual habit with library books. Meredith flipped through the cards, furrowing her brows so much Britta's mother would say she'd have crow's feet at 20. Man, if anyone needed to relax, it was Meredith. Suddenly, it struck Britta that someone smart like Meredith might make a good partner in crime. So, like in 4th grade, Britta decided to suck it up. She held her iPad out. Meredith? Meredith didn't respond, flipping a yellow card. Britta rolled her eyes and stuck her iPad between Meredith's face and the flashcards. Meredith jumped. Excuse me, do you have no concept of personal space? Now that she had Meredith's attention, Britta pointed at her own ears, hoping Meredith would figure out to take off her headphones. She did. What? It's silly. Probably. Meredith agreed, replacing her headphones. Wait! Britta pointed to the ad. Just look! Isn't it heavenly? Meredith glanced at it. Nice. She went back to the card that said Act passed by Congress in 1933 to stabilize the banks. Meredith said Emergency Banking Act. But Britta persisted. It says they have 3 rooms to rent for July. Uh-huh. Meredith reached for the headphones again. Britta talked faster, competing with the headphones. And a private lake and kayaks and stars and deer and no light bleed. I looked it up. It means it's so dark you can really see the stars, all of them. She had to stop to breathe, but Meredith had paused anyway. Don't you ever wish you could go someplace where no one knows you, where you can't be reached, where there's not so much stress? Why are you asking me this? We're not friends. Meredith looked back at the cards. We're not enemies, and they have 3 rooms. We could take 2 of them. I want to get away from my mom's boyfriend and everything. Britta tried to decide whether to say what she was thinking about the real reason she thought Meredith should go. I heard what happened last week. Meredith's head jerked up. What? Does the whole school know? The unspoken words, even you, hung like Taylor Swift's poster. Britta shrugged apologetically. Word gets around, and everyone looks up to you. Meredith hung her head. God, I'm so embarrassed. Don't be. Britta's hand hovered over Meredith's shoulder. She wanted to pat her or something. People freak out sometimes. You just need a vacation. We could go up there. Sighing, Meredith scrolled through the photographs again. This time, Britta could tell she was really looking because she glanced away from the flashcards. I know it's weird asking you, Britta said, but if I asked any of my actual friends, they'd laugh. And if you asked any of your actual friends, same thing, right? Meredith tried to hand back the iPad. I can't take a vacation. I need to do something important over the summer. Had my resume for college. Aren't you on a bunch of activities? Britta said. Isn't that why you're so stressed out? Meredith laughed. Yeah, I'm in all the activities. That's why I can't take off. I'm president of the National Honor Society and the Key Club, and I build habitat homes, and I organized a walk for cancer, and I'm on the bowling team. The bowling team? Britta said. You bowl? Like on a regular basis? You have to have a sport to show you're well-rounded. Okay, so you're president of all these clubs and on the bowling team, and I'm captain of the bowling team, but you're not going to get into college because you took a month off to go to the mountains when you're obviously stressed out. Maybe not the right college. My mom went to Princeton. But Meredith looked at the ad again, expanding the photograph of the house with her finger. I bet it smells like pine trees, Britta sing-song, like Christmas all year round. Meredith nodded. My mother would say I have time for this after I get into college. So don't tell your mother. Tell her you're taking a college class at Princeton. The bell rang then. Meredith handed the iPad back to Britta. Britta packed her stuff up slowly. The next class was close to the library, and she wanted to give Meredith more time to change her mind. You can write your college essays in peace. Nothing. It could change our lives, Britta said. Meredith laughed. Still, Britta's patience was rewarded when Meredith called after her. Britta? Britta smiled, so she remembered her name at least. Yeah? Call me later. She gave Britta her phone number.
That's great. That's amazing. Thank you so much. It's so awesome to hear from the actual author. It's like a completely different experience.
Yeah, thank you.
Where where the inflection is and certain things, because that's how you wanted it said and that's how you wrote it, and it's just nothing beats hearing a book read by the actual author. It's unbelievable, especially as a librarian.
Well, I'm so great. Enjoyed meeting your book club.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Chapter 1 of Girls of July. I hope that encouraged you to read the entire book, and I will see you next time on Chapter 1 Read Aloud.